winter still has its grips on Alaska.
Haines is always significantly colder than it is in Sitka, which is pretty painful.
And throughout the state, the Coast Guard is helping people survive.
Number 2's in the basket. This looks good.
In Sitka, the crew searches for a party of hunters missing for days.
Our weather can change really quick and things can just turn bad.
And way out in Kodiak, the team is the only hope for a vessel helplessly adrift in the Bering Sea. The vast Alaskan wilderness, a place where beauty is cloaked by danger. Here, every day, 350 highly trained men and women risk their lives to save others. America's deadliest waters are protected by Coast Guard Alaska.
All right, so the name of the boat is Coastal Trader. It's a 260-foot vessel. They want to do a midship hoist. That's what they're setting up for. Okay. Because there's tall masts on each end. Okay. And it's in Dead Man's Bay. Emphysema, hard time breathing, and then 47-year-old male. I'm Lieutenant Adam Spencer. I'm a pilot here at Air Station Kodiak. We came on duty at 1600, so an hour into our duty cycle, we got launched to do a medevac of a 47-year-old male who had upper respiratory distress with a history of emphysema.
I told the pilots, you know, they're like, well, do you want a corpsman to go? I'm like, well, if he goes south, yes.
I have albuterol too, so you can try to give him that. It's a bronchodilator, so should help him breathe. My name's David Call. I am a flight corpsman here in Kodiak, Alaska. I asked if they wanted me to come along. They said, sure, why not? There is certain things that I can administer that the ASTs can't, like albuterol and stuff to help people that are having trouble breathing.
My searchlight straight ahead?
Yes.
All right, thanks. Ready forward, ready aft. Ready forward, ready aft. Totally forgot to tell my wife that I was going to go flying. I know. She's going to have dinner prepared for me and everything. I'm a terrible, terrible husband.
Lieutenant Mike Ronke, age 60, search and rescue pilot at Air Station Kodiak.
What speed do you want to fly out, Mike? 120?
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with the biz.
115 is good.
115, good.
As the crow flies, it was less than 100 miles to Dead Man's Bay, but to go the long way around, which we had to do, avoid terrain, avoid the mountains, it at least doubled the flight distance.
There's the rain. Visibility's not good. Roger. And we got about a 25 knots left quartering headwind.
Got a good radar picture, though.
So we're flying down the east side of Kodiak on the low vis route, swinging around near Akiak. Visibility was terrible. The ceilings were low, obviously. Common weather during the wintertime here in Kodiak. And this was challenging because we kept flying through frozen precipitation, heavy snow, and so the visibility would go from 2 to 3 miles down to 0 conditions.
Dude, what's up with me and you? Always find these freaking dark nights, and this is like deja vu, man.
And as we were traveling northbound up into Dead Man's Bay, the bay actually started to constrict on both sides. We had mountainous terrain on both sides and then in front of us, which made it very challenging to fly up in there.
This would have been a lot more fun to do during the day. I think it's going to be pretty tight to try to turn around in there, you know?
Yeah, what's the 2,900 feet max elevation figure?
So we came around the corner and started looking up in the bay, and the vessel was tucked behind another little mountain. We couldn't see anything at first.
Where's the boat at? Oh, he's all the way up here. Wow, okay.
Yep.
I'm going to slow back here because early visibility's coming down.
Yep.
We'll slow back real slow to 60, and we'll fly this bad boy right out over the water. Right.
We started advancing northbound up the bay, and the light started to come into vision. It just sort of looked like a light at the end of the tunnel, and if we didn't see that light, I don't know that we would have continued up that bay just because the visibility was decreasing that much. But the vessel's lights allowed us to continue, and it gave us a target, and they were all the way up at the very northern tip.
I got it in sight right now. You see it?
Yeah, it's really dark up in here.
They're not making way or anything, huh?
No, they're anchored.
They're anchored.
Might get some chop, some turbulence coming through here, guys.
Got a little bit of a snow shower right here. Drops the visibility.
Just snow or rain. I think it's a mixture of both.
We got on scene with the coastal trader at that time. It was a fairly large vessel. It was anchored up into the cove to protect itself from the wind.
Don't mind me, I'm just sliding around, guys, looking for a good hoisting platform. Looks like they got a lot more rigging on the left side of the vessel as opposed to the right. I see that. I'm trying to get the searchlight up.
Yep, here it comes.
My name's Bill Coleman. I'm a flight mech. Viz was pretty low. In the back, I really couldn't see anything at all. It was pretty much pitch black for me.
And rescue briefing. Okay, we're hovering at 80% right now at 130 feet.
Once we got on scene, got the basket out, just wanted to get in and out of there quickly. Determined the best place about midship on the boat where the least rigging was or any obstruction.
There seems like the rigging's pretty high and there's all the antenna and superstructure to worry about. And it's going to be to the well deck there. And then we have the antennas off the well house. So just keep all that in mind, Bill, when you're sending that basket down. Roger that. To be a basket recovery without trail line, and we'll use 130 feet for the hoist.
So we started out at 130 feet, which is pretty high for us. Normally, hoists are between 30, 40, 50 feet. So it's definitely high. You lose a lot of your depth perception at that height. It's hard to tell how much cable you have paid
Okay, co-pilot action.
My primary focus will be on the right side, so just back me up on the instruments. And if we have an engine malfunction while we're doing the hoist, we'll shear. Any questions? No questions asked. Rescue briefing complete. Roger. Checklist complete. Ready for one basket recovery of survivor on the boat. Roger. Begin hoist. All right. Basket's going out the door. Basket outside the cabin door and going down. Forward right 10.
We had planned on doing the hoist from the port side of the vessel, which would align the helicopter into the wind. But they had all their gear and all their cranes on the port side, so that forced us to do the basket hoist with a tailwind, which was challenging.
Easy right. Easy right. Lower the basket a little bit, easy right. We're over the boat now. But a little bit easy port and right.
Conducting the hoist, there was quite a bit of turbulence coming off the mountains and a weather phenomenon around here called Willowa. Just basically vortices coming off the mountaintops.
And easy right. How's that right there in that altitude? Altitude's great. Right, we probably need to come about 10 feet. I'm gonna lower the basket a little bit, wait for it to swing back forward, and hold position. Basket's going down. Hold, and basket's on deck. Position and altitude are good. Survivors get to the basket. Survivors get into the basket, hold.
Once the survivor got into the basket, then we started getting knocked around by the winds a little bit. We got buffeted down pretty good. The plane got blown off the boat a little bit, and at that point, we were committed.
And he's off the deck, left 20.
And so I just tried to get the guy off there without having him slide into the side rail and maybe go dump it into the water.
All right, and I'm gonna come down a little bit. Don't come down too fast. He's not real high off the water. Okay. Hey, he's coming up.
We pivoted away from the vessel, and at that point, that's where the pilots no longer had a bright light visible point of reference, and they got whited out with all the snow.
We came on duty at 1600, so an hour into our duty cycle, we got launched to do a medevac of a 47-year-old male who had upper respiratory distress with a history of emphysema. We got on scene with the coastal trader at that time. It was a fairly large vessel. It was anchored up into the cove to protect itself from the wind.
Once the survivor got into the basket, we pivoted away from the vessel, and at that point, that's where the pilots no longer had a bright light visible point of reference, and they got whited out with all the snow.
Freaking, that wind came down through there.
Yeah, I know, I felt that.
Shook the out of us. He got jerked a little bit coming off the deck, but not too bad. Right there? 20 feet below us. About 10 feet. Driver just below cabin door. And bring the driver in the cabin. Survivor's in the cabin. Hoist complete. Roger, rescue check for part 3. Roger. Hey, good job, Bill, on the hoist. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome job, both of you. That was pretty gnarly.
right, can you hear me? Hi, nice to meet you. I'm David. I'm the corpsman on the flight, so I'm going to be taking care of you. So what's going on today?
Been having chills and difficulty breathing, shortness of breath, COPD.
Oh, yeah, COPD, okay.
Talking to the doctor on the phone and seems to think I might have pneumonia.
Yeah?
Once we got the patient in the helicopter, he told me he had COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which can mean that he can have chronic bronchitis or emphysema or both.
Every time I inhale, right at the end of the inhale, I get pain. Not a bad pain, but I feel right in the center of my chest.
The center? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and set you up on a mask and 4 liters, and I'm going to just have you hold it to your face.
The patient did have COPD, so we didn't give him a regular high dose of oxygen, but his body reacted very well to the low dose of oxygen and brought his oxygen saturation up from 92 to 97%.
Ready for approach.
There's runway. Got the ambulances there.
After the corpsman's initial assessment, we were able to safely return back to home plate here in Kodiak.
Nothing like a night hoist, huh? Putting in for a pay raise when I get back. That fucker factor was way up there.
It's definitely rewarding after you go out on a flight like we just did, where you overcome those challenges, those obstacles, those weather obstacles. It's just good stuff.
What's your name? Gary. Gary, my name's Rob, okay? Let's get inside the ambulance, check you out. Overall, it was a great mission. We came home safely. It was good that we were able to get him to Kodiak, where they have a higher level of care with treatment facilities. I had a great pilots, great flight mech, great swimmer, so it was a good team. We all worked together well and got the job done.
My name is Bill Coleman. I'm an AET2 with the Coast Guard. This morning we're at what's called inflatables. Basically they have a big bounce house and an inflated obstacle course, and kids come down and run around, and basically an excuse to get out of the snow and have some fun.
Bill and I have 2 kids, Emma, who's 2, and Bryn, who's 3 months. And we try and come here as often as we can to the inflatables. It's a fun activity for the kids to get out of the house, especially with the winter. It gets so cold.
Why I do what I do is to be able to come home and see that smile, you know, provide for my family, my kids, and so that we can have a good life and do these types of things. And she has a great time here, and her smile is just awesome.
Up here in Kodiak, Alaska, the winters can be really tough, especially this winter. So it's really nice that Kodiak has these opportunities for the little ones to get out of the house.
I love you, Mommy.
Saturday, I tried to take my daughter out and only made it about a quarter mile up the hill because there was so much snow and ice. It was pretty tough. So it is a nice change of pace, able to get them to run around and work off some of that energy and have some good fun and go jump on some things. Coast Guard is just a really good family organization. I mean, anytime you have some sort of family issue, they can be really accommodating. My job's rewarding, I enjoy it a lot, but one of the best things is being able to spend this time with my family and really enjoy it.
Oh, I'm really proud of the job that Bill does with the Coast Guard. I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to try and, help others, and it's just, if any job that he could have done, I'm so glad he picked the Coast Guard. It's a really great service, and we've met a lot of great people. And I'm just so proud of everything that he does every day.
Just remember, this is survival school.
I quickly chop these down. Got a fire started.
If we ever get in trouble or get stuck out there overnight, it's to teach them how to survive overnight.
You guys are gonna deadhead down to Kodiak.
Each day or each hour that goes by, they become a greater risk of something catastrophic possibly happening.
And he's on his way down.
All right, BM3, I'm gonna go down the plan of the day here for us. Should be a pretty good flight, not too long. My name is Petty Officer John Melvin. We are at the Aids and Navigation team here in Sitka, Alaska, and our plans are to head north to Cape Spencer Lighthouse to do a general service. So let's go ahead and get our gear loaded up. All right, I got most of it packed last night. There's just a few things I'd like to verify. Today we'll be headed to the Cape Spencer Lighthouse. We'll be just doing a regular semi-annual service on it, which will be like checking the batteries, checking the secondary light, making sure that works in case the primary light extinguishes. I'm good over here. How about you?
Yeah, terminals. Yeah, we're good.
All right.
By maintaining our aids and navigation, we're preventing potential SAR cases in the water. It helps our air station shipmates from having to fly at night and do SAR cases in the middle of the night.
You guys good with heading out that direction on the low vis?
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
God, it looks so pretty over there to the left. There's an island with snow all over the trees. Well, look at that. I think there's a whale down there.
Check out Cape Lighthouse.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood. And we are committed to the pad.
We headed up to the lighthouse and just started prepared to start the maintenance. This is the backup light for this one. So if this one, the main extinguishes, this one will come on. And it has a different flash characteristic to it and a different intensity level. So the mariner can tell the primary is out and they can report it to us.
We were doing our 6-month maintenance on the light, and we found when we turned the power off on the main primary light that the secondary light was not responding or not cutting on.
I'm gonna turn this back on and tell me if that goes away.
All right.
Still reading 12 or 13 or whatever?
It's not changing. Basically right now what we're doing is we're checking the voltage on the light to make sure there's a good power supply to it. And he's down there, he's flipping some switches, and I'm just making sure that the voltage stays the same. There's a good power supply.
Any change?
No change. Can we take it off?
What do you got now?
Well, that's jumping all over the place. It's like 2.6 something.
All right. It took us a while to figure it out, but once we got it, we understood exactly what it is, and it's just kind of like comes right to you. So we were just be able to get it programmed, and we were good to go. 6030 is Aton ground party. We'll be ready for pickup in about 05 minutes. Over.
The light's working properly. I'm proud of my guys for going out and keeping the waterways safe for the mariner here in Southeast Alaska. I'm also proud that I work with great men and women of the Coast Guard and here in Sitka to keep these waterways lit, making sure that Southeast Alaska is safe.
Hey, doing great, man. Just want to let you know, come on in. We're going to send you and Mark Heisner down on the Herc. You guys are going to deadhead down to ADAC for a case. Got a call 10:30 this morning, a 649-foot vessel, 23 personnel on board. In the vicinity of ADAC, DIW, it's dead in the water, and they lost their capability to steer, so they're drifting northward out to sea.
It's going to be a solid 8 hours of flight time.
Yeah, sometimes 3.5 hours to get there, another hour and a half.
Yeah,
another 3 hours.
People don't fly into ADAC very much. It's kind of like Moon Base Alpha out there. I mean, it is a long way to ADAC, and the weather's always terrible, so it's a really hard place to operate out of.
You guys pull some weather for ADAC, ATCA, AKO, that's Kolsky, and Dutch Harbor. Any significant weather, i.e. storms, etc. 1630 right now, so at 2230-ish, getting into ADAC, 2230, 2300-ish.
Today was my day off, and Brian gave me a call and said, hey, we got 23 people that need to come off a boat. Can you come in? Called the missus, said, heck yeah. And you really want to go. You really want to get this thing done. This is what you trained to do. But as much as we really want to go out there and kick the tires and start the fires, we really have to take a step back, make sure all our planning's in place, make sure all our numbers add up before we go run out there and do this.
They're gonna have 2 fuel stops on the way. So probably, yeah, they're gonna, with the winds, they're probably gonna have to stop at Dutch Harbor too. So it'll be a long flight.
It's one of those things you hope for the best, but you plan for the worst. Each day or each hour that goes by, they become a greater risk of something, catastrophic possibly happening to the ship and its personnel and its crew. If the weather changes, if they become a greater risk of going on the rocks, at that point, we'll have to consider possibly pulling these people off that ship. We got a call in about a 649-foot container ship just north of Adak, disabled and lost steering way. Right now, the status of the container ship is basically they're trying to repair it with a contractor that's coming in, and we will conduct a hoist and bring that contractor to the vessel.
How's the trip so far?
Good.
Good? Yeah.
Where'd you come from?
Fort Anne.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
26 hours from Norway. All the way from Norway, huh? Yeah. Maybe we can do some matching sails.
I'm Lieutenant Mark Heisner. I'm a 60 pilot in Air Station Kodiak. You guys are part of the crew when you're in the aircraft, so anything that you have questions about, anything you see, hear, smell, whatever that seems out of place, bring it up, because sometimes you might see something that we don't. Flight plan, like I said, take off out of here, head out there, 75 miles. Probably takes about 45 minutes to get out there. When the contractor showed up, we basically spun up. We got the guys in it and took off and flew out towards the vessel, the Morning Cedar.
ADAC traffic, Coast Guard helicopter 6003 is clear to the northwest, ADAC.
And it's going to be 5209er north, 17736 west. Oh, copy. They're a lot closer to land than they were yesterday. They're way out here yesterday.
Yeah, they were a little bit further out.
We were kind of surprised when we got offshore and found the boat only about, 20 miles off the coast. The day before, we found it about 45 minutes away from land. So the seas had picked up a little bit, the winds had picked up.
Well, the winds are out of the south right now, right? I got to see how they're sitting. They're not sitting perpendicular to the winds. They're going to make a change.
Once we arrived on scene and got established over the hoisting area, we noticed that the vessel was conducting a slow spin. We kind of followed the spin around with the helicopter, so it became a little bit more challenging for the aircraft commander and the flight mech. They were, in essence, flying formation off the Morning Cedar at that point.
Morning Cedar from Coast Guard helicopter on channel 23.
Coast Guard helicopter, the Morning Cedar replying.
Good morning, sir. We're planning on doing 4 hoists, 3 men down in the basket, and 1 basket with equipment in it. It looks like that yellow circle will work great for us.
We were only about, 50 to 60 feet above the vessel. It's a very big vessel, very big target to hit.
First guy in the basket. Rescue checklist is complete. Ready for 1 basket delivered to the vessel. And baskets. Going up cabin here.
A lot of our success in the Coast Guard comes from prevention.
And he's on his way down. Basket's on his way down. Easy forward right.
This was actually a very good showing of our ability to get out there, to pre-stage, to bring contractors aboard, to repair a vessel so that it doesn't get into a life-threatening situation, and to prevent a catastrophe before it even happens.
Okay, number 2's in the basket. And basket's going off the door.
We conducted 4 hoists. We sent 3 contractors down, and then the 4th hoist was for their equipment. There's 23 personnel on that boat who get to go home because we were forward deployed, and we were able to respond in a timely fashion and able to get those contractors down onto the vessel. I'm Lieutenant Jake Smith, search and rescue pilot in the MH-60s up in Kodiak, Alaska. I'm here with my wife Hannah and my son Parker. Decided to come to lunch at Java Flats. It's a nice little restaurant out at the other end of Kodiak here in an area called Bell's Flats. This is primetime bear country, so in between the Russian and Old River, people come down here and watch the bears, grab a bite to eat. It's really actually pretty beautiful. You think Parker missed me?
I'm pretty sure he did, because all he says is dada, dada, dada.
No mamas yet?
No mamas out of this guy, just dada.
It's just the best coming home. If I could stay home all the time with Parker and Anna, I would, but you know, being in the Coast Guard, our schedules are kind of hectic, especially when you're going to faraway places and you know, you don't have real good cell phone reception or any cell phone reception at all, like in ADAC. You do have your family in the back of your mind. Everything smells like blueberries.
So why did you end up having to go all the way out to Edak?
There's a boat out there, a huge boat. It was over 600 feet long. Ended up losing hydraulics there, steering.
Is that the last island on the Jake?
No, there's a couple more.
Could you see Russia?
No, we could not even from ADAC.
Jake is a search and rescue pilot, and it means he's gone quite a bit on some dangerous flights and some dangerous weather sometimes, but it actually makes me feel good to know that my husband is one of the people out there that is helping other people who are in danger and who need that help. I'm proud to be a Coastie by association.
Just remember, this is survival school, okay? It's not camping. We're not going out. We're not looking for you guys to be like, oh, this is a great time, comfortable. There's gonna be some degree of uncomfort with this. This is what we're doing is survival. You're surviving. We're not trying to get you to go out there and be like, everything was fantastic, I slept like a baby. Survival school, okay, those two words. If you survive the school, you graduate. Survival school is done here in Alaska for anybody in the Coast Guard that is new to Alaska. For our jobs, you know, we go out, we do areas that helicopters and planes and boats don't usually go to. If we ever get in trouble or get stuck out there overnight, it's to teach them how to survive overnight. So today you're gonna build a shelter, kind of quick, something you crawl into, one person, spend the night in, think about wind, think about rain, think about what you have out here, which isn't a whole lot. So it's just a group effort today. Each group will build their own fire. You guys can head down a little ways, basically within shouting distance.
All right, group one.
Right now, what we look for as for the class, the people in the class, is we look for people just to kind of get the learning experience. It's just kind of a sense of what they could experience out there. And that's what we're trying to do is build that confidence up. To if it comes to that time, they can think back to this and say, oh, I remember when I did this in the classroom. I remember when I did this out in the field for practice. I know I can do this.
We could tie this with that string, and that could be the support. Here, I quickly chopped these down, and I stripped all the limbs off.
Where are we gonna make the door at?
It's probably better for the water protection.
We have some, you know, kind of newer guys. People haven't been in Alaska before. It's a lot different up here. It's really wet. It's been raining the last couple of days. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be kind of a challenge for some people to build fires today. It takes a lot more effort than it does in most places. You can't start a fire here like you can, say, like Arizona or, you know, anywhere in the desert. Everything's super dry. A lot of moisture in the air and a lot of moisture in the wood.
Which method are you using to try and start this?
Cheating with a lighter.
Oh, you want me to show you a way to do it without a lighter?
You got a good fire stick or something?
Yeah. I'll basically set up my wood like this. And what this does is the big log will actually block the wind coming in like this, but wind will be able to go in the cracks and then come up to the fire to feed it. Okay. And what we do, use cotton balls and a striker, and we'll stick it right there. And what I'll do, start it once, put this over here, and start getting the dry stuff. And most of the time, this is probably a little thick, but around the size of a pencil is really good.
Firecraft is important. It's a great skill to have and to know, but we also teach them that you don't have to have fire to survive. You know, you can build a shelter, you can crawl inside of it, use your own body heat and other people's body heat to keep yourself warm. Fire is nice, it's great. You need it for different things, but you don't have to always have it for survival.
I'm a pretty outdoorsy guy. I feel pretty comfortable out here. The instructors gave us some good information, and we're putting it all to use. Got our little house going and got a fire started, so unless it's raining sideways, so far so good.
We
heard on the radio some call-outs for an overdue 70-foot Boston whaler.
Yeah, there was SOS on Little Island. Might have lost their boat.
We have a 77-year-old male who has a perforated bowel.
EMS was notified and they should be there on time, over.
It's essentially flying into a golf ball. It's all white flying into it.
Sector, roger. Normal position 5656.
And Sector from 30, you can put us on scene.
We happened to be flying this morning on a normal duty north patrol. We were out by Tennecky Springs, and we heard on the radio Sector Juneau making some call-outs for an overdue 70-foot Boston whaler.
30 Sector, go ahead.
Roger, do you know the make of the boat? Are we looking for a whaler, or is it a aluminum boat? And then also request to know how overdue these guys are.
30 Sector, be advised. The skiff was departed Saturday and due back on Monday. We are assuming that the vessel is a 17-foot Boston whaler, over.
The Coast Guard 6030 were diverted to south of Yorka Island in the cabin area where 7 Fathom Bay.
I don't see anything back in here. No, nothing like a timely search. Yeah, right? These guys are a day overdue and they just didn't feel like calling anybody. It seems like if they were going to go north, well, never mind. I won't assume that people make good decisions. Yeah.
We have to wonder who called them in too, because they're due Monday.
Yeah, I mean, this is a day late. They might have lost their boat.
Sometimes overdue vessels here, a lot of the time they will just not check in or go somewhere else, and so you don't really know what to expect when it's going to happen, but you just want to be prepared for the worst case scenario.
We need to call Sector and let them know we're on scene. Maybe we can find 3 guys who need help. Probably find 3 guys sitting out at the cabin that don't want to go back to their wives. Yeah, I think
Your float plan, it's a very important thing to do, especially in an area like this where weather can change really quick and things can just turn bad very, very quickly. You always want to let people know when you're going to be back or when you expect to be back. If there's any change in that, let them know. It's going to help you in the end.
like you said, guys, the most likely thing is that they're still at one of these cabins, but they could be dashed up on the rocks or something.
We heard that the position that the boat was supposed to be in was 7 Fathom Bay. Everybody on the aircraft has a pretty intimate knowledge of the area around Sitka, so we knew that there was a Forest Service cabin in the back of 7 Fathom Bay, so we headed directly to that spot.
Pull into a hover, just so we can get a good look at them on the UIR. Okay. There's somebody waving, maybe something orange on the 1-2 people on a shore here. There's the cabin. Yeah, I see him right there. All right, I don't see a whaler anywhere, but I do see a couple people walking. I couldn't tell if he was waving that thing or what. Yeah, I couldn't tell what he was doing either, but it's worth circling around again anyway.
When we got to 7 Fathom Bay, we immediately started flying toward the back of the bay where the cabin's at. We saw something orange that caught our attention, and it turned out to be a life preserver that one of the people on the ground was waving. We didn't necessarily know whether or not that was one of the people that we were looking for, or whether or not that person was in trouble. We saw more frantic arm waving, and the flight deck actually saw SOS written in the sand.
Yeah, there was SOS on Little Island. Okay, yeah, I didn't see that. That's cool. They obviously lost their boat somehow. Yeah, I never even saw that SOS.
We saw them waving the orange jacket, and generally people aren't waving orange jackets at us, so we kind of thought they were right where we should have been looking for them, so we thought it was probably them.
Landing checklist is complete. Let me get a call to Sector real quick.
30 Sector, go ahead.
Yeah, Roger, we're on scene at 7 Fathom's cabin. We've got 2 individuals standing on the shore, no boat in sight. Tried hailing them on the radio with no joy. We're going to land and get out and talk to the guys and see what's going on. And you're clear of everything. Okay, park brake is set. Roger. That is a nice freaking house.
As soon as we landed, I got out, walked around the front of the plane, made contact with the individuals. They were very happy to see us, very glad that we had actually saw them. They were in good shape. They had been in the cabin for 3 days, needed a bath, but other than that, they were great.
Their boat broke free from their anchor line a few days ago, and they've been sitting out here ever since.
You know the Coast Guard sound around here, and
Definitely a relief. It's like, yes, they did call. They are here, and it's for us this time. Yeah, that was nice.
We're going to have 3 coming out with gear and weapons. Weapons are unloaded and have been checked.
It was a float plan that knowing we're going to be back. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to know that you've told somebody where you're going. There's so many times I haven't. It was good to know.
It's great when you actually get to find somebody and do something like this. It's still a great feeling to actually do your job and know that you can do this at any time, and the outcome of it is always successful.
The Coast Guard plays a big part in the community. They're, important in Southeast because you never know when the wind's going to come up or your engine's going to die or, who knows what's going to happen, and you can call them and they're there as quick as they can.
He looked at me and they apologized for smelling bad. I told him he didn't smell bad.
We have a 77-year-old male who has a perforated bowel.
Faucet EMS was notified and they should be there on time, over.
Internal injuries are very serious, especially for us swimmers.
I'm Chief Warrant Officer Ed Lawrence. We have a 77-year-old male who has a perforated bowel, and we're currently flying on a medical transfer from Haines to Juneau.
All right, so you guys already know the deal. We're doing the Medevac in Haines. Probably realistically north of Juneau, we're going to run into some weather issues, which is the reason why we're going instead of a civilian Medevac company. Yeah, that should about cover us. You guys have any questions?
So what's the patient's condition?
They're saying he's got a perforated bowel.
When we got the call, perforated bowel, I just knew it was going to be pretty serious, and I was assuming that he was going to be in a lot of pain. I wasn't nervous because they kind of teach you to be the calm in the chaos. If you show up and you're looking nervous, that person's not, going to feel very comfortable in your care.
I'm guessing he's not bleeding out, but still needs to get out of Haines.
Haines is a notorious place here in Southeast Alaska for being difficult to fly into. It's essentially flying into a golf ball. It's all white flying into it. Our biggest concern is not get spatially disorientated once we get up into that area. And relying on our training to get us in there and safely land up in Haines.
Request to know if your ETA is the same as before, over.
Sector Juneau 6034, that is correct. We will be on deck in Haines at 12:45 local time. Request to make sure that EMS will be there at that time, over.
We do our best to remove emotion with regards to the patient's condition and make sure that we execute these missions safely. However, when you know that somebody's bleeding internally or has a serious condition, you do have a sense of urgency and you want to get the mission done.
Sector Juneau 6034, we are about to land on deck here in Haines. Request you secure our guard at this time. We will contact you when we are airborne again. Sounds good. Everything is complete. We're ready to go.
Time plays a very critical role in any time we're going on medevac, especially for this internal injury, because I don't know exactly what's going on with him. I don't know how bad of an injury it is inside his intestines.
And park brake is set. All right, door and trucks, and we're all set. You guys are cleared in and out as needed. And we'll keep the heat going for you. All right, guys, I'm coming off ICS. Roger that.
We just landed in Haines, and I was walking into the ambulance, and that was the first time I saw the patient, and he was under good care, and he looked pretty calm, but I could still tell that he was in a little pain. But they had already given him certain drugs to help relieve that pain at that time. Even though he was calm, we're always moving with a sense of urgency, but without cutting any corners. We want to give him the best possible care, and we just needed to get him to a hospital as quickly as we could. Internal injuries are very serious, especially for us swimmers, because we can't see exactly what's going on. So time is just very critical. So that's why we needed to transport him to a hospital where they can give him a higher level of care.
And Cam, we're going to be on deck about minute 50. Yeah, Juno, Rescue 3-4, be advised. We are airborne from Haines with patient en route to Juno. Approximate time on deck will be 1340-1340, local. I'll copy, over.
Ultimately, the goal is to have the patient in better care than where we picked them up. When we pick them up from these small towns, we want to have them getting better already once they're in our hands. And then when we take them to the hospital, that's the final goal, is to pass them on to the doctors where they can get the proper care.
How's our patient doing?
Doing great back here, just so you guys know.
Good deal, thanks.
Well, yeah, he is on a little morphine, so he's probably feeling pretty good, but all his vitals are right where they should be.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm digging that knitted cap he's got.
Dude, they just gave it to him. The ladies in Haines hand knitted that.
In most circumstances with these small communities, the word community takes on a whole new meaning when it comes to a medical emergency. You see a full town response when you come flying into a town and are receiving a patient, which is pretty impressive.
Be advised, we're on deck at Juno for patient transport. I will radio contact you when we are back in the air.
The most assuring thing that we can see on a medevac, both for the pickup of the patient and the delivery of the patient, are ambulances waiting. Knowing that it's going to be a quick transfer, knowing that we're not going to be turning on deck, trying to get a hold of somebody with bad radio communications, just knowing that they're there and ready for us and that we're not going to have any delays.
No two medevacs are the same, just like no two SAR cases are the same. This one could not have gone any smoother. Got to Juneau, unloaded our patient, and made our way home.
We're ready for takeoff. And away, we go.
No one prepares to go into a survival situation. All survival stories, they start out with just, well, I was just gonna go out and, go fishing. I was just gonna go out and go hiking. I was just gonna go out and on my ATV. They all start out with just, I was just gonna.
The environment that we're in, we can't get to it unless it's by helicopter. So if we have an accident out there, a cut finger or a tree dropping on somebody, there's no immediate pulling these people out. It's usually days until somebody finds you, and we're the ones that will be looking. I love the survival aspect, and I love having the knowledge of being able to do something like this.